Доброе утро, друзья, в мобильной индустрии. It's great to see you all here. There's snow outside, but there's a very good atmosphere and a positive atmosphere inside. And I'll come back to it because I think we're living, I said this last year, but I say it again, we live in a great time and we live in a great industry. First, I would like to actually ask you a question. How many of you this year have had a better business, better year than last year? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. I'm sure there's more than you. That's roughly 50%. I would have expected actually a bit more. Next question. How many of you believe that next year will be a better year, 2011 will be a better year than 2010? Raise your hands. That's better. That's around 80%, I believe. Great, that's great to see. Then very last question, just to poll a little bit. So how many of you are dying really for a cup of coffee or a cup of tea now? Raise your hand. Yes, same with me, so I'll keep it very short. Yeah, I'll try to really keep it short. So, once again, I believe we are in a great industry and we're actually in a great turning point. Yeah, because we are, can you imagine that you would be working in the steel industry or oil and gas? Or you'd actually be working for the government and you wake up every day and you think, what am I actually going to do today? What am I going to impact? We here together have the impact of changing people's lives. The way they communicate, the way they entertain themselves, the way they stay in contact through social networks with their friends, the way they improve their efficiency at work. So we have a great kind of obligation towards mankind and towards consumer. And I think that's very exciting to be part of the industry. Yeah? Now, what I would like to do with you is actually two things. First thing, I'd like to touch a little bit upon what's happening globally, what we see happening globally in the industry, some of the trends. And secondly, I'd like to share with you some of the things which we as Nokia are working on in the services industry, which touches upon many of you. Yeah, so I only have actually two topics I would like to cover. If we actually look at, we all know how basically an entertainment industry has been developing. And it's amazing. I used to, before I worked with Nokia, I worked actually in consumer electronics and I was selling and marketing DVD players in Asia. Yeah, and at this point in time, with a mobile device, in this case an 8, but also with many other mobile devices, you can do the same as you could do, let's say, a few years ago with a DVD player. You connect it to your plasma TV through HDMI, and you have DVD, video quality, video, audio. You can put your pictures on it. You can watch web TV. So actually, you don't need to have a DVD player. You still may want to have it, but you can carry everything with you in a small, cute smartphone. Isn't that great for the consumer? And how much actually has changed in the last few years. If we then look at the trends, clearly the internet growth will be driven by mobile. In fact, what I heard yesterday from one of our board members, he was with us in Moscow, he said that I think last week or the week before, globally we exceeded the 5 billion mobile users. As per today, there are already 5 billion mobile users. And we predict in 2013 there will be close to 6. That may still be even a bit pessimistic, maybe even more. Yeah. 1 billion people will be accessing the internet through mobile. And we also believe many of those actually will be in Russia, because the country is very large, so using mobile technologies to access the internet, to access services is of course very logical to do. So once again, a great opportunity for all of us. And if you look at some snippets of data points of what we see happening, if you look at polls, for instance, well, first of all, data for browsing, an obvious one. Yeah, browsing will go up, and I'll show later a slide also which compares the US, Europe, and Russia. I believe that we collectively have some work to do in Russia because we are not up to, we're behind some of the other markets, and I don't believe we should be behind. Yeah. But definitely browsing has a great future. Operators were polled globally, and 94% believe that the main means of communication in the near future will be through social networking. many kids, also in Russia, but also in the US and Europe, they actually don't have email accounts anymore. They stay in contact through their Facebook, messaging service, or actually through instant messaging. Email is something of the past. So the way kids and adults are communicating is clearly going to change. And then of course we talked already about the number of apps being downloaded, and I'll show you some statistics also from Ovi a bit later. That is definitely now growing. But also multimedia features like using the camera on the mobile are being used a lot more. Because the quality which you nowadays get with smartphones is just amazing. This is an interesting one. And this is something which I think all of us collectively here in this room cannot be happy about. And you can actually debate about the data. Maybe this data comes from an independent company which is not Russia-based, so maybe actually their insights of Russia is not optimal. Still, Russia is far behind per month. In 2011, the expectation is that in Russia 7 megabytes is being downloaded per month, is being consumed, versus 160 megabytes in the US. So I think this is clearly something all of us, the operators, in terms of creating the bandwidth, in terms of creating the business models, in terms of making sure that there's enough money left for content providers to innovate, because if there's not enough money flowing to the content providers, where's going to be the innovation? You will actually be a big fish in a small pond. Let's create together a big pond. And all of you working in an operator, think about how you are going to change some of these business models. Because this is something we need to definitely change. And I think we will. I'm very hopeful we will. A few things about Ovi. The Nokia service offering, which we launched like 2 years ago. And we actually have made some pretty good progress in many of the Ovi services we're offering. And I'll show you some of the data points right now. If you look at now, at this point in time, we have every day 200,000 new Ovi signups globally. 200,000 new Ovi signups globally. Application downloads. So in the Ovi Store, this is a global number, and we exceeded this number Saturday. So last Saturday, we actually exceeded the 3 million downloads per day. Which actually is really, really good. Russia, I'll show that later, is actually in the top 7 at this point in time in terms of countries for downloads, and it's rapidly growing. If you actually look at maps, the usage of Ovi Maps is increasing every day. People go 80 times around the world every day, and Russia once again has great engagement and take-up of Ovi Maps. Russia's number 2 after China in the usage of Ovi Maps globally. And that's again a great kind of encouragement. A few data points on Ovi Store. Many of you are publishing on Ovi Store, and many of you are asking also when can we derive more revenue streams out of Ovi Store. We're working very hard on that, but we first want to create the base. And I believe that now we actually have created a base. We are active in many, many countries around the world, in local languages. Have billing in place actually with 77 operators globally, and we also have a great billing footprint here in Russia. Active users from more than 190 markets, and Russia is actually a big country here. So now really every month there's between 8,000 and 10,000 new apps or content items being uploaded into Ovi Store. So clearly now Nokia is joining that race, and I believe with the scale we have, not only looking at smartphones, but also looking at CS40 with Java, the more affordable devices, we're going to actually further grow. Promotional efforts, and we obviously have a lot of marketing campaigns, either done by ourselves or with partners like, for instance, here NTS. Here, more and more, you will see that we will be promoting your apps, the local apps into our offering. If you have time, have a look. We have an Ovi Store demo outside in the lounge, and we'll show you also how at the recommended page, actually a lot of it is Russian content. It's all in Cyrillic, Russian content, with Russian payment systems, with your Russian credit cards. You can actually buy in Ovi Store. You don't need to use a UK or whatever kind of credit card like maybe some of the competing app stores. Actually, we are fully local. And we're one of the few players who is actually fully local here, but also we're local in China, we're local in the UK, we're local in India, we're local in Brazil. We are local everywhere around the world. That is actually where Nokia differentiates from some of the other players. Yeah. That's what I would like to share. And once again, as I said, I believe that next year is going to be a very strong year. We have some work to do together. Yeah, and definitely the operators have a big role to play. What actually was not shown here is actually also that on the data tariffs, the attractive data tariffs and predictable data tariffs is very critical. So here also we'd like to engage with the operators to see what can be done. Yeah, because an anecdote, my wife 2 months ago, we were traveling in Europe, Germany and France, and she was browsing her Yahoo Mail. I think for half an hour. She had 2 half-an-hour sessions, once in Germany, once in France. We're paying 300 euros per session, 300 euros in Germany, 300 euros in France, 600 euros for a 1-hour browsing session of Yahoo Mail on her Nokia smartphone. I think that's a bit exaggerated. I mean, I think this needs to come down. And this is the obligation, once again, of all of us, but specifically the operators, to make it affordable, predictable, yeah, not to get the bill shock, and then we will see the market will start taking off. And then we'll go to the 180 megabyte download with all the nice games and social networking and what have you. If we limit it, it ain't gonna happen. Yeah, so our friends with the operators, please work closely there because this is critical for our future. Спасибо.